So after the last video about what the mean means, and I tried not to make that too confusing, and I explained that this measure is, I suppose, easy to calculate and it's been taught to us for a long time. It's kind of hard to interpret, like what it actually means, like how to actually use this measure in real life. This next measure is fantastically easy to interpret, which is why I really love it for specifically descriptive statistics, and that's called the median. So the median is literally the middle value when I put things in numeric order, right? So what that means is I'm going from the lowest value up to the highest value, and I've found the middle point. So what does that mean as we think about this? How much of the data will be less than that? If that's the middle point, then I should have about half is less, about half is more than that. Okay, that's a fantastically easy thing to interpret, and really that gets across this idea of a center very well. It doesn't have to be some physical thing, like let's talk about student ages, right? If the median student age was 21.5, let's say, then that means half of the students would be 21 or less, and half the students would be 22 or more, right? This is something I can easily understand, whereas the mean is a little bit trickier, especially once we start talking about outliers, which we'll do a little bit later. So unfortunately, the median doesn't have as consistent of notation as I would like, and so even though I see this kind of squiggle over the variable to mean a sample mean, and then this Greek letter eta for the population median, I'm not going to worry about doing those. I will literally just put this in words. I will ask you, for example, on a quiz or a homework assignment, I will just use the word median, M-E-D-I-A-N. So don't worry so much about this notation here. So here's how I find the median. I just put things in numeric order. Now, when I say the middle of it, that's very clear when there's an odd number, right? If I have 1, 3, 5. Well, this one's in the middle because there's one that's less than that and one that's more than that. However, if I have 1, 3, 5, 7, well, now the middle is actually right here, right? That would be where half is less and half is more. And so I got to have a separate trick, in a sense, for when I've got an even number versus an odd number of observations. Now, if it's an odd number, I literally just take the middle value. If it's an even number of observations, I want to actually, what we'll do is find the average or mean of those two middle values. So for this one, it would just be 4 would be the middle, right? Because if I average 3 and 5, find the mean of 3 and 5, I'll get 4. Okay, so let's go through a couple of examples real quick, just to make sure we got this down. So again, my wife asked me to take out the garbage. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes an unreasonable number of times, but whatever. So if I put these in numeric order, remember that is absolutely got to be the first step. Let me reiterate, that has to be the first step. That is by far the most common mistake in this section, is literally just finding the middle value. Well, I need to be able to interpret it as half the values are less than that and half are more. That's not going to necessarily be true if I've just got my numbers in some kind of random ordering of however I collected them. So I've got to put them in numeric order first. Okay, so anyway, I put these in numeric order, 1, 1, 3, 7, 9, right? That goes from smallest to largest, and 3 is the number right in the middle where I've got two values that are less, two values that are more. So sample median here is easy to find. Now let's say there was one more observation, a 4, right? And again, I've put that in numeric order. Well, now 3 and 4 are the two values in the center here, and I've got to average those two. So when I do that, that's just adding them and dividing by 2. I get 3.5. So 3.5 would be my median for this data set. As we'll talk about in a little bit, this is a fantastically easy thing to interpret, but because of its kind of algorithmic nature as opposed to formulaic, in other words, I don't just stick numbers into a formula like I did with the mean. I have to put things in numeric order and pick the middle value, right? That's like a step of or a process that I do rather than a formula that I put numbers into. It's a little bit harder to work with mathematically, but it's so easy to interpret. It's a fantastic measure for descriptive statistics.